Hello and welcome. I'm Adri Gregan, and I'm here just for a quick little upload. This is going to be several different excerpts of the live stream I did about a month ago. It was going over the latest ED of JJK, Yoake no Uta. And this is going to be pretty much the only cut in here. The rest of it is just going to be basically just a compilation of stuff within the stream that's just going to cover the song. There were technical difficulties, so they didn't actually get to hear the song, but I'm going to edit in for this video. If you want more streams, I do them every Saturday. I've just come back from a hiatus, so it won't be this Saturday, but the next one will be my next stream. Anyways, I hope you enjoy. For this one, I'm going to be talking about Yoake no Uta, the unbelievably incredible ending of JJK, as I'm sure you're aware. I'm going to be strictly talking about the song and why it is one of my favorite J-pop songs, period. It is just that good, and I need to gush about it. So I'm going to be talking about the lyrics. I'm going to be talking about the music progression. I'm not a musician. You will see that very clearly once I start talking about it. But just like with the anime, it's just an excited fan who likes sharing what he knows about it and just wants to share his excitement. So it's really just going to be a gushing session. I've been thinking about it, and I've been listening to the song today, obviously, to get ready for this, and there's so many things I want to talk about. I'm going to be going through it 2 times. One time to talk about the music, and then the second time I'm basically going to go line by line and talk about the lyrics, because there's so much to discuss and break down and analyze and talk about. It's exactly as the title of the stream says. It is multi-layered perfection, brilliance, and I need to talk about it. This is Yoake no Uta, JJK's latest ED. Let me turn this up so I can enjoy it more. So already I'm going to pause it. See, I told you I'm going to pause it all the time because there's too much to talk about. The start of the song is incredible. It's the descending notes of the piano and the heaviness of each note. It really sets the scene for this, right? It sets the scene perfectly. The descending notes, obviously, you can tell it's not a happy song. It's a very heavy, very dark, very somber song, but it's also a little ambiguous. You're not sure if it's going to be a song about a sad, depressing song or if it's going to be a creepy song. You can't quite tell. It's in that minor key, but it's slightly ambiguous just with the heavy feeling that there is. And it lingers in that for around 7 seconds before the vocals kick in. So you're left kind of wondering, what exactly am I getting myself into with these descending heavy piano notes? But then as soon as the vocals come in, I mean, it speaks for itself, right? As soon as the vocals come in, that ambiguity is gone. Because Joji's voice it's sorrowful, right? It's not depressed, but it feels like it's very airy, nasally almost. It feels like somebody is out of breath, they are tired, and they are just trying to keep pressing. It's got that heavy, it's not very open, it's not very airy. It is airy, but it's not very open. He's not projecting. It's almost like his voice is about to peter out, like he's tired, right? Listen to this. The way his voice peters out at the end of each line, it's perfect for Yuji, right? I'm not going to be talking about JJK much here. This is mainly just going to be the song as it is, but it's perfect. It is heavy, it's depressing, it's depressed. It feels like the dark night of the soul, which Yuji is in right now. For those of you who aren't aware, the dark night of the soul is a reference to several different things. A lot of times it's used in a religious context, but for storytellers like me, the dark night of the soul is used to refer to a moment within the archetypal hero's journey. Basically, it's often before or even during the climax, it is the lowest moment, the lowest point for the protagonist, for the hero. It's the moment when all hope seems lost and they basically need to redefine themselves. They need to rewrite themselves in order to get through this challenge that they cannot overcome. That is the dark night of the soul in storytelling context. And this song really is that, right? And Dawn fits that perfectly because it's darkest before the dawn, right? So the way this song has this descending notes, this petering out, weak, tired voice, it really encapsulates that feeling of just trying to move forward when there's like nothing. And then the second part of the verse hits, right? And suddenly you've got this harmonization, this heavy echoing, and you've also got this, I think it's an organ playing in the background. It really creates that feeling of, it kind of brings in that creepiness, right? I mentioned that the ambiguity between whether it's a creepy or sad song kind of disappears, but here it kind of brings them both in. It kind of feels like you're wandering around lost in a forest, right? In a foggy forest. The foggy forest of your heart, where you're depressed, you've lost everything, you're in despair, but it's haunting, right? It's a haunting reverberating of his own voice, creating this beautiful harmony that just sounds really good, but it's unsettling. It makes you feel like something bad's about to happen. And the way his voice like goes up and down and up and down, it's like waves. It really creates the image like you just plunged into the ocean and you're slowly sinking, right? Feels like you're just slowly sinking under the waves. Oh, I'm looking at the lyrics. I can't wait to talk about them, but that's for the second rewatch. And then we get to here, right? So we get this waving, is finding this slowly sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. This heaviness as his voice is just trying to make a stand, but then something changes. It opens up a little bit, right? It's not fully open. And if you know the song, you probably do. You know where this is going. You know it's going to. But for this chorus, it's completely different. There's none of that, like, there's none of those descending notes. There's several more instruments joining, not just the piano and the organ. The harmonization is gone. It feels like after he's sinking into the ocean, suddenly he stops. He catches himself. A little bit of buoyancy happens, and he tries to get back up. Joji or Yuji or whoever you want to describe with this song, maybe even you. It's almost a feeling of futile optimism. We get this kind of open feeling, and he's trying to rise and go down, rise and go down. If you're familiar with, if you've been in despair, if you've faced depression, you'd know the feeling of trying to rise up, but falling back down, but always getting sold off. If you know the stock market, it's when you're in a bear market, stocks are going down, people try to buy it up, but every high gets sold into and it goes even lower. And you can hear it in his vocals, right? The way his voice goes, da 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 da. Da 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 da, right? It goes the high, and then it goes back down, and then it goes high, and then it goes back down, and it just keeps going down. And I sing that terribly because I'm a terrible singer, but it's trying to open up, but it's still like drowning in this heaviness. But still his voice is trying to reach up. He's trying to keep moving forward. And I'll talk about the lyrics later, but it's this feeling of emptiness, this cold determination that Yuji finds perfectly. And it's just perfect. And then right as it gets into the bridge, you hear just a little bit of a guitar, an electric guitar playing. There's this hints of more, right? Of that old life before everything was gone. And then we get into the second verse, where the organs, I'm pretty sure those are organs, are just playing full force, right? You can barely hear anything else besides him and the organs playing. This feeling of just despair. Then the children's voice coming in. It's kind of this creepy feeling. Children tend to do that, but it's also this, it's almost infantile, right? I guess I don't really need to pause it anymore since I don't need to worry about talking over it, so you guys can't hear it, but it's such an unusual verse, right? It's slightly different from the first one. This song very much has a different structure from the most, where it's like verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus 2, right? And then chorus 3, bridge, chorus 3. The two verses are pretty distinct. It's really just one full experience. It's not, the TV version isn't just the song chopped down, it actually loses a lot because this song is an experience. It's a lot more than just verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It is verse, chorus, verse, chorus, but it's so much more because each verse, the two verses are different from each other. The two choruses are quite different from each other. And then it just peters out and everything cuts out but his voice and the piano, just like the start, right? Just like how we started with just him and the piano. Well, we started with the piano, but it's cold, right? It's hollow, it's sorrowful, and yet his voice, still trying to peter out, is trying to find its strength as we get into this bridge. Oh, and the grittiness in it, it's perfect. Like, it's the feeling of being stuck in mud and trying to claw your way through it, right? Trying to claw your way out of this horrible, dark place you're in. And then you see it in the lyrics, he starts to find his hope. He starts to find, even if no one wants me to, I'll keep living. Perfect for Yuji, right? And then the strings are coming in and they're getting more and more frantic. It's picking up pace. It's picking up pace. If you're stuck in that mud, you're trying to get to your feet. And then you get into the final chorus, right? If you know the song, you know what I'm talking about. The harmonization comes back, similar to the first verse, but completely different. This isn't like a hollow reverberation as a harmony. This is a powerful resonance, right? On the way the instruments cut out and everything comes out right here. And then everything comes full force. Percussion, we've got the drums, we've got the guitar, and his voice is stronger, right? It's so good. And the fact that, again, I was talking about the highs, it goes down, the highs, it goes down, the highs goes down. The fact that here, when he's going da 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 da, he holds it, he goes up, and then he holds it, right? The whole point of the problem with the despair, the issue, is that every time he tried to get up, he would fall back down. So the fact that he goes up, reaches that new high note, and then sustains it, and then goes down just a little bit, but still sustains it. It's so perfect. Someone who's struggled with depression a lot throughout his life, I know this feeling of, like, it seems like for a day or two, you pull something together, you rise up, and for just a little bit, you're able to hold it. And it feels like depression is not taking it away from you because you continue to fight. Oh, it's such a great song of not triumph, but of seeking triumph, of finding that determination, not the cold determination, the cynical determination that a lot of shows like are kind of dwelling in, that's really big in the modern day, but a real determination, a light, right? A warm determination. Not even warm, fierce, it's hot, it's an inferno. And then we get into the final part of the song. That's my horrible recreation for it, so you can hear what I'm talking about. This part is so great, right? It's so triumphant. And it's especially great because it stands in contrast to itself. This part of where the notes are going higher, da 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 da, right? It's high, rising, 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 in perfect contrast to the beginning of the song, whereas those descending piano notes. Now he's rising, and not only is he rising, when he reaches that high point of this rising note, he sustains it and cuts out. And the instrumental's a great finish to it. That's perfect, right? His vocals don't come back down to like finish off the song, to give you a nice little end to it. It literally ends on a high note. Because as I was saying, with the high notes going back down throughout the first chorus, that's not happening anymore. He's only rising and he's holding it. And we end the song holding it. It's such a great, powerful message, and a song just about, again, not triumph, but about facing this despair and continuing to walk forward. And when we get to talk about the lyrics, but I'll mention it briefly here, I mean, near the end of the song, he says it himself, the dawn is arriving, but the fog still hasn't lifted. Nevertheless, right? He's going to keep going. He's going to keep pushing. He's going to keep trying. And it's perfect. It is a full experience in less than 3.5 minutes of being in the dark night of the soul and dragging yourself forward, continuing to go forward, first with cold determination, then with a raging inferno of determination. Come on, that's perfect, right? It's brilliant. It's absolutely stunning. And yeah, that's my completely unprofessional, unexperienced breakdown of the musical brilliance of the song. Now, I am going to go through again and go through the lyrics because there's so many things I want to talk about. But before that, let me just check out the comments real quick, see what's going on in here. Definitely very Yuji. It's like he's chained to an anchor in a pool. Every time he nearly reaches the surface, the anchor gets heavier. Suddenly it pulls him right back down. Exactly, Ketch. Exactly. You're trying to surface, right? Another metaphor you could use is like you're in the waves, right? You're trying to surface, but as soon as you feel like you get a breath of fresh air, a wave comes crashing down and you're tossed right back under. But he keeps going, right? And in the final chorus, he actually is able to sustain it, which is why it's such a triumphant, beautiful moment. I wonder, seeing as I'd say this song is very much about Yuji, I wonder where we'd place the song in the timeline of the show. I guess it's continuous for the entire show. I think this song goes... Well, I don't know quite yet. I'm presuming this song is here because Yuji is going through his dark night of the soul, which he kind of is after the Shibuya incident. It's the lowest point, right? I mean, having not seen like any of season 3, having only seen a quarter of it, he's not quite there, but I feel like this song is very fitting for season 3. It's very fitting for the dark night of the soul, the moment where he starts with that cold determination, right? And in the visuals of the ED itself, you see at first the bloodied hand curls into a fist, and then a little bit it opens back up. I'm really hoping that by the end of this first core, Yuji starts to open back up, and he decides that his cold determination is not as powerful and not as necessary as a fiery determination, as a willingness to get hurt, right? And the song, again, we'll go for the lyrics, but there are things I can never lose. So I really hope he gets there, and I really hope we get the dark night of the soul, and we get the end of that, the dawn, where he starts to try to open back up. If that is the case, then yeah, I would say that's where I'd say the song is placed perfectly. The harmony uses a melodic duality that reflects Yuji's emotional instability as the center of the song, definitely. And I love how the different parts of the song use the harmony differently, right? The harmonizing with the reverberation of his voice. In the first verse, it's like, it's frightening, it's ominous, but in the last chorus, it's triumphant, it's proud. It's great. And yeah, it's just such a brilliant song in so many more ways than I have the words for, because I am not a musical analyst. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. Well, indeed, the song stands out for its gradual growth, starting in a minimalist way and adding layers until it reaches an epic feeling towards the end. Yeah. And it's not just a straight line, right? Because no true journey is. It tries to go higher and then it peters out. It tries to go up and then it falls back down. Like the first chorus going into the second verse, right? He falls back down. Then he tries to bring it back up, and then he triumphantly rises. It doesn't go in a straight line, but it demonstrates the determination to get out of that rut, to rise back up, despite the despair that has completely crushed you. So Yuji has that final feeling. Exactly. I truly do. I truly do. It's hard, right? Because he's not going to have a happy ending. There's pretty much no timeline where he survives the end of the show. But that doesn't mean he can't have a happy ending, right? Everyone dies. Not every death is tragic. Some deaths are happy, a proper death, right? Even if Yuji does die at the end of the show, he can still reach that triumphant final feeling, right, of the song. He can still reach the moment where he decides to burn out. He decides to go out in a blaze of glory, not of hatred, but of strength, of determination to save the people close to him and keep them close to his heart. He can die, but still reach the end of the song. So I really hope he does. I really do. Yuji is my son, and he very much needs a lot of therapy before that dawn. He saw his body killing people with his hands. It's quite the metaphor. Yeah, definitely. The hands are the agents of change, right? They are your agents of change. They are what you use to affect the world, to alter the world, to change the world. And that's what's so unique about humans that most other creatures do not have. So the fact that his agents of change in the ED are just blood red, he's got a lot of blood on his hands. And you can play the blame game till the sun sets. Physically, his body was what caused that to happen. It's very understandable that he's in this darkness. You can justify negative feelings till the sun sets, right? Anyone can justify why they're depressed, why they're anxious, why they're miserable, but justifying it doesn't mean you need to continue it. Just because you have a reason for being depressed doesn't negate the desire or the worthiness of fighting against it and of rising despite it. So yeah, he's justified, but he can still face it and confront it and try to rise above it. It's so much easier said than done, but it's what makes it worth doing, right? And let's get to the part that I'm sure you all have been really waiting for. The lyrics. We're just going to go through this basically line by line. In the darkening days, a single shadow is getting flustered without a place to belong. A single shadow, I mean, already is hitting you with some really interesting, strong visuals, right? The darkening days, this is like the dusk. The shadow is losing places to belong because the whole world is getting dark. Shadows only exist in the light, right? That's a really interesting, unusual visual. The implication that you are that shadow. I suppose you are the darkness within you, the heaviness that you're carrying, that you've experienced. It seems like the entire world is just enveloping you and you're losing your sense of identity. It looked pathetic, as if begging for forgiveness. I mean, speaks for itself, right? Planted seeds begin to bloom, and then the song opens up as the seeds bloom. You are growing colder. Outstretched palm cuts through the sky. Again, referring to my analysis of the ED, right, where his hand opens up again. Again, just such a powerful visual of trying to reach out, trying to have some hope, and practically breaking the world, cutting through the sky. It also makes me think of Sukuna a little bit with his like slashing, trying to do good but doing harm. Can't we go back? Surging waves swallowing me. Again, the visual of the waves. I move forward while destroying the future. This is tough. This is a really tough line. This is the first line that like grounded me when I was listening to this and watching it. There are many different angles you can read this line from, right? In JJK, obviously, Yuji is deciding to live despite having Sukuna in him. And as he continues to live, his very existence is damning people. And we saw it in the Shibuya incident. Sukuna is killing people with his body because he chose to live. He's destroying the futures of many people. You could argue he's destroying the future of the world by changing the course of it, by allowing Sukuna to exist in it. And yet he just has to keep moving forward. Otherwise, I'm nothing more than a murderer, right? Personally, I also resonate with this line. And I think anyone who has a issue with self-esteem, with kind of self-hatred, self-loathing, I think most of us can relate to this line to a degree. The feeling that I'm continuing to live, I'm continuing to move forward, but I am doing more harm than good. Oh, people who spend their time with me could be spending their time somewhere else. Yeah, I'm destroying the future by giving them a worse time than if I weren't around. Oh, my videos aren't as good as someone else's. They could be watching something else. I'm destroying their future. Melodramatic in that sense. Or if you have a job like you're a soldier, you're destroying people's future, you're killing people. If maybe you're a stock trader, and you're selling stocks and crashing the stock market, you're destroying the future, right? It's such a widely applicable phrase that always harkens back to the feeling of, I don't deserve to live, but I can't afford to die. It's tough. It's really tough because it's so easy for your brain to justify it, right? It's so easy to see the faults of yourself. Oh, I'm not good at talking to people. Oh, I don't have any specific talents. Oh, I don't do much with my life. I am not worthwhile. It's so easy to see these flaws that it's frankly amazing that some people don't have self-esteem issues, right? There's so many, again, those justifications. It doesn't mean you should accept them, but it doesn't do us any favors to reject them either, to pretend they're not there. So this feeling of destroying the future, yeah, it's tough. And yet there's also the feeling that you are moving forward, right? You are choosing to live. And we see that later in the song here. Will the end ever come? It's a bit of a contrary line, isn't it? Which, again, really fits mental health. I move forward, even though I'm doing harm. I want it to end, but I'm choosing to have it continue. If you look at Yuji, it's very literal, right? At any point, he could kill himself. I guess Sukuna could use that pact where he like takes over. He could try to do that. Realistically, Yuji could try to kill himself at any point. He could have somebody else tell somebody else to kill him. He could bring about the end, and he wants it to end, but he can't. He feels like he can't. And if you've dealt with, I ideation, trying not to get YouTube on my butt for it. If you've dealt with ideation, there is those contrary feelings, right? Those conflicting feelings. I really want it to end, but I don't want it to end. I want to keep living. I really want it to end, because the reason why it seems contrary is because the end is not actually the end of your life. For most people, at least, they don't want their life to end. They want the suffering to end. They want their insufficiency to end. They want the parts of them they hate to end. They want the parts of the world they hate to end. It's just that for people with ideation, it's the easiest and, to a lot of people, the only way the end can come is by ending the life. Because you can't just shut down a part of you don't like. You can't just do that. You can't go into your coding and change it. You live with that contradiction. I'm continuing to live. I want it to end. And it's really, really tough. It's a big reason why I was in the hospital, because eventually those two are constantly fighting for control, right? Wanting to live and wanting the pain to end, wanting the parts of life I hate to end. And they're constantly fighting for control. And if at any point the latter goes above and takes control, that's when it becomes an issue. But it's not actually the life that you want to end. It's the parts of it you don't like. And that's why that contradiction exists, which is brutal. And then we get to the cold determination part. And I love this verse. I love how well it encapsulates the feeling of moving forward, even though you don't feel like you deserve it. Even if I get shattered, torn apart, and scattered in disgrace, I fear nothing, because I'm already empty anyways. I have nothing left to lose. I've lost everything. He says this later, but I can keep moving forward without fear because there's nothing in me, because I don't feel things anymore. It's exactly what Yuji felt at the end of season 2, right? So when the end arrives, make sure to extinguish this light. I don't want anything anymore because I'm afraid of losing again. And it's with this line that the truth starts to come out, right? What I was talking about before. The end isn't actually the end of your life. That's not what you want when you have ideation. It masks what you really want, what you're afraid of confronting. Yuji doesn't actually want his life to end. He wants the fact that he's a danger to the world to end. He wants the fear that he's going to lose people. He wants losing people to end, right? It's not his life explicitly that isn't worthwhile. That is what he hates. It's the things that comes with it. Losing people, killing people. That's what he's afraid of. And you see it here. I feel empty, not because I can't feel things, but because I have shut off the emotions that feel things, because when I feel things, I feel pain, right? If you are susceptible to feeling, you are susceptible to feeling pain. You can't have it part way. All or nothing is it's a bad habit that people get into. It's a common issue, but when it comes to like feeling, when it comes to what you feel, it is all or nothing, right? You can't selectively choose what things you feel. So when your fear of negative emotions is too strong, your brain just shuts off all feeling. And that's when you get apathetic. That's when you lose interest in things with depression, right? Your brain, in order to protect you, has shut off these emotions because it knows how horrible those negative emotions are. So the same thing applies to losing people. I'm afraid to lose people, so I won't get close to people. That's why a lot of people are closed off, right? In the real world. We close ourselves off to other people because we are afraid of those connections, because when you make connections, you can lose connections. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but if you don't take any shots, you technically never miss. If you never get in a relationship, you'll never have to deal with a breakup. It's sad, but it's a defense system and it makes sense. And again, that's what's so insidious about this mental health, right? About these issues. They make sense on paper. They make enough sense to trap you and to pull you down. They're not fully sensible. To go back to what I said earlier about noticing the flaws of yourself, notice how you do that far more than you do with other people. You're biased, right? So it makes enough sense to trap you in the narrative. But once you actually start analyzing and breaking it down, the flaws appear and the fallacies appear. It's just hard to feel them because you are living in the biased brain that you're trying to analyze, right? Since I lost you, the world is filled with nothing but dark news. And as usual, 5 seconds in, I gotta pause it again because I love this. I love this. Similar to the misery loves company line, misery and sorrows rarely come singly, right? Another saying, the common saying, when it rains, it pours. When something bad happens, you are more aware of bad things happening, right? Your mind is more alert. So it feels like bad things happen in a domino effect. More and more things happen. Oh, I overslept, or I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And then when I tried to pour some toothpaste on my toothbrush, some of it squirted out and got my eye. And then I had a lot of traffic. And then at work, people weren't nice to me. And then when I tried to get home, there was a crash, so it was delayed. All of these bad things. Why is the world just stacking bad on bad? Well, maybe, but probably not. Realistically, you're probably just more sensitive to these bad things happening. And that's this line, right? I lost you, this horrible thing happened, and now everything is tinted, everything is tainted by this darkness. Everything feels bad. It feels like more and more bad things are happening, which obviously isn't true. The world doesn't care about what bad thing happened to you. It's not going to change reality to give you more bad things, but that's how it seems. That's our perception. And saying the world is not full of nothing but dark news is such a great way of expressing that in such a poetic way. It's great. No matter what I do, my sorrow is endless. Just more things keep happening and just keep stacking. Will we meet again without learning my lesson? I lament. Without learning my lesson. There's that self-awareness, isn't it? That self-awareness that comes hand in hand with self-loathing, with self-pity, self-hatred. This feeling that I'm feeling these things and I want things to go back even though I know it shouldn't. I'm feeling this anyways. I don't want to, but I can't stop myself. I'm not learning my lesson. And it's a horrible feeling. It's such a thing I feel a lot. There's the saying that goes, the only real mistakes are the ones you haven't made. And I often respond to that, well, then I've made a lot of mistakes because I seem to keep repeating them. And it sucks, right? It's hard for self-esteem when you don't seem to be able to learn your lesson, which is why it goes so hand in hand with lacking self-esteem, with not liking yourself very much. No matter how much I worry, my unresolved regret seeps into the palm of my hand. God, the imagery in this song is so good. My unresolved regret. Regret's not good, right? It's not resolved. It's not something you've confronted. It's something that's seeping into every aspect of your life. If you feel like you made a bad decision, that carries with you, right? Sorrows don't come singly. That taint seeps into other parts of your life, seeps into the palm of your hand. Feels like everything you do is tainted with that regret, with that feeling that I wish things were different. Even if you know, realistically, you shouldn't think that. Because I still have regret. I've talked about how I hate regret, but I still have it. So I feel that without learning my lesson. I feel that regret seeping into the palm of my hand, affecting everything I touch. God, it's such a beautiful way of putting it. This song is so artsy. And then we get into the chorus. Even if I get shattered, torn apart, starting the same way as the first one, and scattered in disgrace, I fear nothing. That's all the same. But then there's something else. I can't stop trembling. I still want to be here. I want to be with you. There are things I can never lose. So many of them. Which is why I can't leave yet. Despite the cold determination, despite the feeling that I have nothing left to lose, your brain is too smart for that, right? Yuji's brain is too smart for that. Whoever the song's focus is in your mind is too smart for that. We are too smart for that. We are too smart to fall for our own tricks. Your brain will pretend that you don't feel things anymore to hide you from the pain. Your brain will pretend that it doesn't care about anything anymore to protect itself from losing things. But it never works fully, does it? There are things you can never lose. There are things you can't afford to lose. There are things that even after you've lost everything and then lose a little more, you still have yourself, right? So depending on how you want to interpret this line, whether it's things I can never lose like I can't afford to, or things I literally can't ever lose, it works. No matter how afraid you are of losing things, you will always have something. And you can find comfort in that, right? You can find strength in that. And once you start seeing these things you can never lose, I'll give you a few just here. Gratitude. You can never lose gratitude, right? It's a feeling that can always appear. A kindness. Waking up in the morning, you can't lose these things, right? I mean, you can try to end your own life, and I guess you can lose it then, but as long as you're living, you can't lose these things. These aren't things that can be lost, at least not for good. They are things that are attached to you, inextricably linked with your existence. And once you start finding them, there's more and more, right? There's so many of them. Sorrows never come singly, but neither does happiness, neither does gratitude. Once you start thinking about them, more and more will appear. You'll start noticing them more. So he reaches a slightly different conclusion from before. That's why I can't leave yet, even if no one else wants me to. The obvious interpretation, Yuji, right? People want him dead. More widely, and why I connect with the song, it goes back to wanting to keep living and feeling like you are not valuable, you are not worth it. It's obviously false, right? I don't think there's a single person in the world that nobody wants them to continue. Everybody has at least one person who wants them to keep living. If for nothing else than participation prize of there are some people in the world who just love everyone, right? Even people they haven't met. There's a person in Nigeria who wants you to keep living because they want everyone to live. So by default, there is no human who will ever exist where not a single person wants you to live. That is wrong. That is a fallacy. It is the fallacy, I forget the word, but I forget the exact term, but it's absolutes, right? No one wants me to live. There is no absolute that holds true when it comes to like feelings, right? When it comes to talking about people. For physical stuff, sure. No human grows wings. Sure, you can say that's true. But for the sake of most contexts, absolutes are not true, right? No one else wants me to live. That just isn't true. But it doesn't need to be true to believe it. And you can even be aware of it. Like I said, your brain often doesn't fall for the bluff it creates to protect itself. So it will trick itself into trying to convince itself that no one wants you to exist because of X, Y, and Z. And it's really sad, but it's really easy to fall into. And that's this, right? I have to keep living even if no one wants me to. It's sad. It's not true, but it feels true, and that's enough for you. On the other side of the coin, there's a beauty in it. There's a beauty in living for yourself. No one will ever criticize you as much as you. You are your own biggest critic. At the same time, no one will ever love you, support you, root for you as much as you. You are your greatest critic, yet you're also your biggest fan, your strongest advocate, even if you don't think you are. Even if you may not be right now, no one will ever advocate for you more than you. Even if no one else wants me to live, I can't leave yet. Not for someone else's sake, but for my own. It can be hard to convince ourselves that it applies to us, but it does, without exception. That's one absolute that is true. Everyone deserves to live for themselves. Yes, I know, you thought of some horrible figure in history who did horrible things. Yes, even then. It's an absolute. Every living creature deserves to live for itself. And then we go into the crazy bridge, and then we go into the final chorus. Once again, even if I get shattered, torn apart, scattered in disgrace, I fear nothing. But now it's because you're always right beside me when the song opens up. Every single day. Even though you're gone, you're still with me. It's Nobata in the chorus of the visuals, right? Her appearing there, even though she's gone. At least to Yuji. We don't know if she's alive or not. We assume she's not. The implication is she's not. But what matters is how Yuji sees things, right? You're still here, even if you're gone. You are always with me. You have left something in me that cannot be erased. A thing I can never lose, right? Nobody can take away from me. The world cannot take away from me the imprint of you that you left in me. Nothing can take that away from me except for, I guess, maybe dementia. But even then, like, if you lose your memories, you still have the personality that's been developed from touching with other people, right? We seek out other connections to experience the world, right? And every time we encounter other people, we create memories of them. Yes, they leave their impact on us there, but they also change our personality. We are all putty blobs. And every time we bump into each other, a small indent is created, sometimes a big one. That is something you can never lose. You cannot lose it. Not you can't afford to, you can't. So take solace in that. If you're afraid of losing things, take solace in the things you can never lose, the things that will always be with you. And then he goes back to thinking about the end, the moment where everything ends. Until then, I will keep chasing. And he reaches the super high note of the song that always gives me chills when I listen to it. I will continue to reach my hands out toward the light. That waits at the very end of these days, the end of the tunnel, right? Even if I can't reach it, I'm still chasing after it. And then the best line of the song. It's a tough competition, but this is my favorite line of the song. And it's the namesake of the song, right? The dawn is here. Even though the morning is approaching, the fog still hasn't lifted. But I head towards it, tracing its uncertain outline with certainty. One thing at a time. Morning is approaching. The fog hasn't lifted. The day is here. The night I've been dreading is over. The sun's finally risen. You wake up. You're still depressed. Right? That's effectively what this is. Things are getting better, but a lot of things still haven't changed. If you lost somebody with Nobata, let's say, the morning comes, let's say the Culling games end. If Nobata is actually dead for good, the Culling games end, things get better, right? But Nobata still isn't here. She's still gone. I'll use someone I'm certain about. Nanami is gone. Again, before Nanami comes back. The Culling games will eventually end, right? Nanami will not come back. The morning has come, but the fog hasn't lifted. Because not everything will be righted. Some things you just have to carry with you that aren't great, that are sad, that are hard. And that's okay. That's okay. That's why we love bittersweet stories, because we love wanting to appreciate taking the good with the bad. We don't like the fog, but it's part of the human condition. I head towards it, tracing its uncertain outline with certainty. Ideals, fundamentally, by their very nature, are not things that can be accomplished. They are things that are incongruous with reality. If it is something that can be achieved, it is not an ideal. That's what I believe. I also believe that it is the very nature that they are unachievable that makes them worth chasing. If the North Star was something you could reach, it wouldn't be sought after, would it? The very fact that it is unachievable, that it is something that cannot be reached, is the reason it is worth pursuing. Because you can pursue it forever. It is something you can always work towards. It embodies the idea that it is about the journey, not the destination. It embodies a constant progression, which life should be, right? Life should be a constant journey of growth from the beginning to the very end. You should always be seeking growth. You never complete your growth, right? You never finish your character arc. Not your overarching one. Maybe you have smaller ones within it, but you never complete it. And that's beautiful. That's why we want to keep living, right? Because if we completed it, then we could just die then. But the very fact that it is unattainable, the fact that we cannot achieve it, is where the value is found. That's why in the line earlier here where it says, until that moment, I will keep chasing. I will continue to reach out my hands towards the light, right? The light is unattainable. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not breaking anyone's hearts here by lifting the veil. You cannot reach out towards the dawn and grab it. The dawn is not a thing, right? It's a perception. It's how the sun breaks over the horizon. It is not reachable. And that makes it worth reaching for. That makes it worth pursuing. Conquering depression and despair and all these bad feelings. It's not really achievable. Realistically, if you have depression, especially if like you have it like ingrained in you, not from a certain event, if it's like persistent PDD, persistent depressive disorder, not major, which is usually trauma focused. If you have PDD, you are not going to conquer depression, let's be honest. For the most part, the vast majority of people will not. If you have ADHD as an adult and you had it as a kid, there's a good chance you will never conquer it. It's easy to think that and to fall into despair. Life will just be like that. Life sucks, then you die. But I prefer to look at it as I will never not have something to pursue. I will never not have something to better myself because depression will always be there to fight against. I will never not have a purpose. My purpose can always be, even if I complete everything I want to in my life somehow and I cross off every bucket list, I will always have something next I can do. Fend off depression, make it smaller. I continue to reach out my hands towards the light I can't grasp. But the more I reach out for it, the better my life becomes. So I don't want it to be achievable because the moment I achieve it, if it were achievable, I would stop growing and life would lose its meaning. So that's what I mean when I say ideals being unachievable is the very reason they are worth pursuing, because they will always be something you can pursue. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel you can chase after. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about, tracing its uncertain line with certainty. Awesome. I love these like seemingly contradictory lines. Another one I love is deafening silence. Things like that. Things that seem not to make sense, but have a strong visual effect, even if oftentimes we don't know why. The uncertain outline is what I'm trying to reach, right? What I was just going on a tangent about. Ideals are unachievable. The future is unseeable. But just because the thing you're reaching for is uncertain doesn't mean the way you're reaching for it needs to be uncertain. You can chase after something uncertain with certainty because they're not the same thing. You reaching for something and that thing don't have to be synchronized. You can have conviction even if the future is unseeable. It may seem like a contradiction at first glance, but it's not. It's part of life, right? The future will never be seeable. That doesn't mean you need to be uncertain about it. Now, will you be perfectly certain? Probably not. I hope not. There's probably something a little bit off in your head if you are completely certain with no reservations whatsoever about the future, because that's a little bit odd. You should always have some reservation. It's normal to. But you don't need to reflect the uncertainty of the future. You don't need to look at a foggy mirror and decide just because your reflection is foggy, that means you're foggy. You don't have to accept that, right? You can look at a foggy mirror, see your foggy reflection, and go, my reflection is foggy. I am not foggy. I am defined. If you are bad of sight and you lost your glasses, I may look foggy. That's your perception. I am not foggy. The future is uncertain. That doesn't mean I am uncertain reaching for it. I will reach for it decisively, even if the future cannot be decided. Because it can't, right? The future is a concept. It's not a thing that can exist. Only the present ever exists. So yeah. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. That's the song, right? That's the song. There's so much in it. I love it. I love it. That's why I love it so much. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And until then, wherever I see you next, have a lovely rest of your day.